Welcome to YOUnified, Unburdened Living. Now, this webcast is focused on creating awareness and unity to the fragmented self, which is the root cause of your inner and outer challenges. So I want to thank you for joining us today and for tuning in. I am so excited to offer you a glimpse into the gentle yet effective healing work that I do. And so then that way that you can release any fears, any objections, or any obstacles that you have to diving deep within yourself and accessing the freedom, the peace, and the fulfillment that comes from letting go of your old shit. Right. So in case you don't know, my name is Enigma, and I will be your guide on this inner journey. So I'm an international healer, educator, and speaker. My purpose is helping the silently suffering access their inner wisdom so they can overcome challenges and step into a more fulfilling experience. So today we have with us Michelle. Now, Michelle is super lovely, as you will get to know during our webcast today. And she's had quite a bit of healing and training, and we've been working together for quite some time, eh, girl? And
2017.
I was wondering if you would share, because we're going to do 30 minutes, so we want to try to keep track of that. You want to share your top 3 super awesome, juicy things that you've accessed in your life through doing inner work.
Oh, wow.
I know, eh?
It's like my life before you and my life now is like so different. I manifested a trip to see Abraham Hicks. I got picked to go in the hot seat. I manifested an all expense paid trip to Florida. I told people to follow their bliss, and I ended up on the Norwegian Bliss cruise ship. It's quite amazing, and I've manifested a gig where I get to go get self-care, and it's almost like going to a restaurant and doing the dishes for the food. Right? I just kind of help out a little bit, and I get to use all of their stuff. So it's like, wow, yay me! Like, yeah.
And you've had quite a significant shift in would you say your relationships with your parents and your background, because we're going to focus on that a little bit today.
Yes.
So do you want to give like a quick and dirty little, and Michelle has a book, so feel free to plug that.
Yes. Okay, yeah, it's all in the book. Been there, done that, wrote this, but that's another thing. So when I'm growing up, it was everybody was religious in my family, and like as a child, I remember after dinner gatherings at my grandparents would be all the adults getting around with their Bibles and arguing over who was right. And so I was taught at a young age to learn the Bible almost because it was like a lawyer, if you know, like, so if they were spewing Bible verses at me, well, I could come right back with one to prove them wrong, or, it just kind of became like using the Bible and the Word of God to prove your point in your way with, it doesn't matter what rational thought came to mind. It was, no, this book said this. Like, people who couldn't cut their hair, couldn't wear makeup because there's one verse that says your hair is crowning glory. Well, but at the same time, the hypocrisy, I would see them, they didn't cut their hair, but they would rip it around their face so that they could make little curls. Like, it didn't make sense to me. So, yeah, so I wasn't allowed to go to movie theaters, wasn't allowed to go to dances. There's so many things, and everything was a fear of eternal damnation is what basically ran your life. Like, don't do this because you're going to go to hell. Don't do this because you're going to go to hell. And you better look up because Jesus is coming back soon. And that
wow.
Yeah. So, and even now, and so I don't let them trigger me now. Like, now I just kind of like, okay, it is what it is. I let them talk, and I just, or I could just walk away. Like, I don't engage in it. But now with all this crap going on now, oh my God, it's like, it's really hard to have a conversation because they're like, well, aren't you scared? And then I'm like, well, if you're scared, then why aren't you believing the stuff that you're preaching to me? Because it just, like, it's frustrating. It's like, Like, it's like
So
you're
you came
waiting.
from a highly religious background where that
Yeah,
was, in a sense, from your perception, the letter of the law, if you will. That was like
yeah,
that was the equation for how to make it through life. And
yeah,
one of the triggers that you had shared in our group was that you had some fears that maybe what your family had told you was true. Did I understand that properly?
yeah, yeah. Like, cause not that, like, my logical mind is kind of like,
I
okay.
know.
But then it's like, well, yeah, like I mean, and I've been hearing about end time prophecy since I was a child, right? Like in 1988, they even had a pastor come in and tell us 88 reasons why Jesus Christ is coming back in 1988, and they had these recordings that they would get people to buy and stash around places in case you missed the rapture. So as a child, I used to cry for all my friends that I was told were going to hell. So now I'm like, okay, so is this like some sort of tribulation period, and like we all miss the rapture? Like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's,
So I love this topic, and I'll share why. Something that's been coming through quite a bit, and I've been seeing a lot, and actually I'll share a little bit of a personal share. My daughter had last week had been complaining of feeling yucky, and I'm an intuitive I'm a medical intuitive. So I scanned her to see what was going on, and I could see some energetic turmoil in her stomach, but I didn't see any kind of bacterial imbalance, any kind of viral infection, any kind of fungal overgrowth that would have been causing her to feel yucky, in her words. So I was like, okay, well, here's some water. And so I went back into mommy mode, and I was like, okay, well, how can I make her feel comfortable? Because I don't see anything that I can action. And because I was scanning her. And then as I
mm,
walked away, this light bulb went on, and all of a sudden I saw her connection to the group consciousness grid and the external energy that was going on. And I thought, oh my gosh, how did I not clue in? She feels yucky. Of course she feels yucky. There are people sick everywhere in the world right now. There are people that are really upset, worried, frantic, panicking, struggling, suffering. Of course she feels yucky. My daughter is such a sensitive empath that I just, in a moment I was kind of looking for something like, did you get sick? Did you pick something up? And what I saw for her, and the healing that I did for her, was to disconnect her from that group consciousness grid. And then right away she felt better. When she woke up, she was like a whole new person the next day. And so I've been continuing to check in and disconnect myself and my loved ones, as well as the people that I've been working with, making sure that the group consciousness energy that we, like it or not, are all connected into. Do we have a breach or a crack in our external boundaries that is leaching that information and that feeling into our personal experience? So our external beliefs, fears, and suffering influence your state of being. So what we're going to do is I'm going to offer you a healing. Unfortunately, in this format, I don't have a lot of time to actually train you on how to do that, but I'm going to support you in doing it in this healing today. And that's going to be a part of what we're going to do. Now we have a whole bunch of other scheduled unified limiting unburdened living series popping up over the next weeks. And I'm really feeling like Zoom might be a really great option for us to create our own independent platform. So then that way we have a direct connection, and that no matter what happens in the world, that we have that direct connection. So that being said, Michelle, would it be okay for us to support you in discerning between what are external beliefs and what are your personal beliefs? And one of the other things that I'm picking up on that would be really important for you is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like you're afraid of getting in trouble for creating your own opinion about the world. When you muscle
yeah,
test that, does that feel right for you? It's like you're afraid you're
it,
going to get in trouble because you um I don't know, abandoned your belief structure
Yeah, it's almost
And it's
like
like somehow this is the consequence, or you're afraid of a consequence that's going to come from it. Does that make sense for you?
yeah, it's I'm not afraid of God punishing me. I'm afraid of my parents and their reaction, and the no.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I'm also feeling like a
yeah.
little bit of the "I told you so" kind of thing, and it's like almost like a judgment, and you deserve what you get because you didn't listen kind of
Yes,
feeling. Okay.
yes.
Now, rationally, you're probably going, who cares what they think, right?
Rationally.
Rationally, okay. And that's something we really need to pay attention to right now. So maybe your adult self is, managing the disruption and the uncertainty that's happening right now. And that's great. Or maybe you're like, oh my God, what are you talking about? I'm freaking out over here. So it doesn't matter where you find yourself in the spectrum. There's a really big difference between the rational adult you and your inner child and your inner self, if you will, right? So sure, the surface you might be managing okay, but have you taken time to check into that inner self? Because that's where your wounds, your fears, your limiting beliefs, that's where they live, right? And those are often anchored at the age or maturity, emotional maturity that you would have been when they were developed, which is often between the ages of 0 and 7. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a little, or tap in with Michelle, create a little roadmap. And then if any of these healings sound good for you, what's kind of fun with this format is that each and every one of you can receive the same healing downloads. All you need to do is go ahead and say yes out loud or type it in the chat box. And then you're going to go ahead and get that. So I'm going to send it over to you. So whether you're listening live or you're joining us for the replay, either way will work. So yes out loud, or if you're here with us live, do type in yes, because it gets me excited to see new messages. So let me go ahead and have a chit chat with the inner Michelle to see exactly what she needs. And I see you here, Michelle, at 4 years old. And I'm seeing you really afraid of being punished here.
Yeah.
I can see you. It has something to do with, like, I don't know if you put the Bible wrong at the church, or something was, you didn't do something exactly right. And it feels really trivial to me. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm not super familiar with.
They got you couldn't I gave mom her purse and her Bible, and I had her purse like it was like a clutch, so I put it on top of her Bible to her. And no, you don't put anything on top of a Bible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that, because it felt really trivial,
Yeah.
it's great that you were able to actually connect. But does that one situation kind of represent the theme for the feeling that's really being triggered right now with everything that's
Oh
going on in your
yeah.
life? And
Yeah,
now,
because it's all the things you're not supposed to do.
yeah, now, is that something that you would have thought of on a regular day basis, like over the last 20 years?
No, not until you just brought it up. Actually, it was like, oh yeah, I remember that time. Like,
You
yeah,
remember
it was
that
like,
exact specific
yeah, like,
scenario?
yeah, I was like, oh yeah, they put in the. Oh, and there was another one where like I was repeating something my mom had said at home, because you can swear at home, but if you swear at church, you're in trouble. So I walked by this like 80-year-old man, and I was like pulling up my leotards, and I looked at him and I said, my damn leotards won't stay up. And my mom just lost it, because you don't say that word, let alone to an 80-year-old man who's sitting there and all this. And she was just mortified. And I'm like, well, I heard you say it. Like, what do you mean that's a bad word? And so yeah, I got
So it was
in trouble.
within the certain confines and the rules. So now the point of my question was so that everyone can understand that. So Michelle's been going on in her life as per normal. Yet in the meantime, these old fears have been in her undercurrent. It becomes part of your white noise, and you just go along your life, doop de doop de doop, and it's not until something happens, let's say the shit hits the fan, that this will rise to the surface. And often you'll be like, I don't know where this is coming from, because you're trying to find something in the day or in the week or in your life in the now that is the cause and source. But what happens is that just gets buried back there, and you just learn to move forward. But what's happening is you're dragging it in your wake, it's holding you back, and it's causing an anchor. And then whenever there's something that creates a rawness within that experience, it's like all hell breaks loose, literally, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's so important for us to take this opportunity. We're being gifted. Like, this is in the history of the world, you've never been allowed to take time off and focus on you. Like, you're literally, and I know you're probably not making 100% of your pay, or maybe you're worried about income, et cetera, et cetera. I get that. Try to focus on what you control and what you have access to. And that, I was abruptly reminded of that this week, right? So I'm passing it along to all of you in the hopes that it'll reduce your suffering and your discomfort during this time of change and transition. But right now, everything is falling apart. And we can look at that and try to like build it back up like it used to be, or we can take this as a really wonderful opportunity because everything is in flux. It's also a really great time to reorganize your life that you've always wanted to do, but you've never been able to do it because of your constraints of your time, your routine, your obligations, your responsibilities. Right now, like, all you can do is sit with yourself. So I don't know. That's not a message from the universe. I don't know what is, right? You guys, I need you to go in your room, and I want you to think about what you're doing. I want you to see how you want to, like, how do you want to live your life moving forward, right? So let's work on that. So let me go ahead and see what specific healings we're going to do to help release this anchor that Michelle has. That's all the way back at 4. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pull that. So I'm going to see what that's going to look like. Okay. Would you like to know what it feels like to release any and all shame, blame, and guilt that you have been that's been projected onto you now or in your past experiences that lead you to believe that you are doing something wrong? And if it speaks to you as well, to our attendees, feel free to say yes, either type it in the comments or say it out loud to receive this download. So what we're doing is we're purging projected guilt, shame, blame, and also fear of doing the wrong thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's take a deep breath. Now, what I'd like to do and what I'm seeing is, can we offer you the highest truth, perspective, definition, understanding, and discernment around what are the right choices for you and what are the choices that are wrong for you in regards to your personal soul level value and morals? Would that be okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And if that one sounds good to you, if you'd like to clarify who your authentic self is versus who you think you should be in order to fit in with the world, this is a really great download for that. Take a breath. Good. So I'm just going to go ahead and check in here. So let's go back to that experience, Michelle. There's another layer there, so I want to explore it. So I want you to go back to that moment. I don't want you to move in there. Okay. And for those of you who are listening, if this reminds you of an experience that you relate to, I don't want you to move into that experience. I want you to stay third party and observe the experience. We don't want to recreate or tap into any trauma. We just want to identify. That's all that's needed. We don't need to go into it and feel the feelings. We just want to observe the feelings. It's a very different thing. You're up. I wanted to make sure nobody jumped into their past. I was like, no, stay here, but observe.
Yeah, and I can remember at a young age, like, because my mom was actually the secretary at the church, right? So instead of being home, I ran around. The church was like a playground kind of thing, because while she was working, I'd be in there. So there were lots of things to do and get into and all that. So it was always, there was always something wrong. I was always doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you're like, oh, well,
So
that's for
let's
the,
go ahead and muscle test that belief. And for those of you who aren't familiar with muscle testing, I shared a few times my training and tutorial around muscle testing, but I'm going to give you a quick and dirty look as to what that looks like. So a really easy, simple, effortless way of doing it is actually standing up and facing north. And then it's called like a body sway. So what you would do is you would allow your body to either lean forward or move back. And you always start muscle testing with a baseline. So Michelle, go ahead and start off. Michelle's going to be our demo today. She's got her mobile device. So I'll get you to say out loud, my name's Michelle.
my name is Michelle.
Okay,
Yep.
and then you say, Michelle's got a really big response. Everyone's response will be different. So some people it's just a little pull and a little push, and some people it's like, whoa. So whatever that looks like to you is fine. So Michelle, go out ahead and say out loud, my name is Jean-Guy.
My name is Jean-Guy. Nope.
Good. So now out loud, let me get your specific thing, and I'll get you guys to muscle test this too. So here's just another way is you can make dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, you use your right hand. And then what you're going to do is do a little scissors with your fingers. Now, the point is my name is Anik, can't open, right? My name is Tony, and then I've got no force left here, so it opens. And a different way to do that same one is with your thumb, and you do like a nice tug. So my name's Anik, my name's Jean-Guy. And then that way I know, I don't, some people do it this way. I don't like that because it's like, well, which one opened? Because you're not supposed to be paying attention to it or focusing on it. You're just supposed to be observing it from an observer position. Good. So let me grab the exact belief. And if you want to play with this again, I'll share that tutorial again for you guys. And there's, I think I shared 4 or 5 different ways to do muscle testing. The purpose of muscle testing is to help you to identify where you might consciously know something, like the adult version of you is like, yeah, I know I'm cool. And then that part of you that's like, I hope they like me, right? Like that's your subconscious, right? So you know that you're worthy, you know that you're awesome, you know that you have a lot of value, but then you feel, afraid, ashamed, etc. Right? So when there's a mismatch between what you know consciously and how you feel, that's when it's a really good indicator that you've got some patterns on the subconscious level that are in conflict with how you want to live your life and what you will attract as well. So that's why muscle testing's super supportive, is to help you isolate and identify those specific limiting patterns for yourself, and then you can decide what you want to do about them. Honestly, 95% of the work when it comes to self-healing is awareness. Would you agree, Michelle?
Oh yeah.
It's like as soon as you know what the problem is, you automatically start resolving it.
It's like it unfolds.
Yeah. It also becomes a little harder to avoid it and ignore it after. It's like you can't unknow it. So it's kind of a catch-22, guys, just full disclosure. But believe me, once you let that shit go, life is so much easier because you're dragging it behind you anyway. You just don't realize how much effort that takes. So let me get the specific one. Okay. No matter what I do, I'll always do something wrong.
No matter what I do, I always do something wrong. Yeah.
So that's pretty strong. Yes. Wow. That's like, holy shit.
Icky.
Like,
that's icky.
Now, where do you feel that in your body, Michelle?
Oh, straight.
Yeah,
like,
you're right there, right? Yeah.
Chest,
so
gut,
what we're going to do, and if any of you felt like off when I said that, or like, oh, I know that it's not true, right, Michelle? You know that it's not true.
It's not
you
true.
know it's not true. You have all this evidence in your life that proves to you that this is total horseshit, right?
Yes.
Now, but when we say it out loud, it goes and gets you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where what we're gonna focus on is the stuff that's not true. So now, with your permission, can we show you and everyone who has something similar, can we show you the truth around that belief that's been embedded in your patterning? And I'm seeing specifically for you, Michelle, it's in your Enneagram banks as well. So you might have overheard something while you were asleep, or if you would have been like during a surgery. That's usually when the Enneagram banks get loaded. So
Okay.
for those of you who are listening as well, if you would like to have the truth around the limiting belief, no matter what I do, it's always wrong, or it's never enough, or I'll get in trouble. Those are the three
Mm.
variations that I'm hearing for the group as well. And I feel like they are probably
Yeah,
fit for you too. So if you'd like to have the truth around those limiting beliefs so that you can align with the highest perspective in that category, you may say yes now.
Yes.
And any shame, blame, unworthiness, not enoughness, or any of that disgusting, yucky feeling that you have in your field associated with those old beliefs, with your permission, we're going to go ahead and release those. We're going to allow you to keep the wisdom from those past experiences, but without needing to hang on to that yucky vibe. And we're going to go and replace that energy with love and compassion instead. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Good. So take a deep breath. Okay, now just for fun, Michelle, I'll get you to stand up and say out loud, no matter what I do, I'm always wrong.
No matter what I do, I'm always wrong.
Good. Now, it's not a strong yes, but you feel that subtlety. Would it
Yeah,
be
it's kind of
okay?
like wavering.
Well, what's happening, what I'm seeing in your field now is what's happening is this has been your reality for so long that you don't know how to be Michelle without having that fear. So it's become part of your identity. You're like, hi, my name's Michelle. No matter what I do, I can never, there's always something wrong. You know, it's become part of your resume. And it's also been ingrained in a lot of your really close relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's part of the foundation of the relationship that you have with your family. And even though you might have different views on the world, you still love them, gosh darn it.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, and I'm feeling there's a few of you who are listening live that this applies to as well. So if this resonates with you, feel free to say yes. Would you like to know who you are, what your life looks like, what your future looks like, and what all of your relationship looks like, and how to improve all of the dynamics in your world, but without needing to, without having that belief instilled any longer? Would that be okay?
Yes.
So I'll get you to say yes for those of you who are listening as well, if that resonates with you. Let's show you how to move forward in your life without that yucky, yucky belief. Good. So now I'm going to do for you, Michelle, and for everyone else. And there's a lot of different modalities that you can use. So what we're going to do, and you can do this with your simple intention too. And that's kind of a quick and easy way for me to share this with you so you can do it on a more regular basis. There are certainly more advanced techniques that you can use to explore what your connection is to the group conscious sphere, as well as why it might be continuously seeping. So if you clear it and it comes back, and you clear it and it comes back, well, then that means there's something up with your filter, right? Or that means maybe your perception of how you love and support others includes taking on their fears, their illness, their suffering, their worry, right? So there's taken on, instead of loving, we're enabling. Instead of and I'm trying to remember it's what it is in English, like in anyways, I'm gonna say it in French. It's like porter au lieu de supporter, which means carrying instead of caring. Oh, okay. As soon as I said it in French, my neurology, I'm originally Francophone, so French is my first language. So I needed to say it in French so I could trigger the words in English. So it's like allowing you to offer that support, but without taking on that burden. So now with your permission, let's teach all of you what it is, what it feels like, and how to love and support the world, your loved ones, your colleagues, your friends, your family, but without carrying their issues, their struggle, their sacrifice, their worries, or their fears. So let's go ahead and purge that and show you how to do that. Would that be okay? So what we're changing is we're showing you how to love in a different way. So to care without carrying. Okay.
Yes.
Let's show you a proper discernment between the two.
Yes.
And let's help you to identify where you might have been enabling the inability for someone to, it's kind of like failure to launch, right? Like these people keep you know, having challenges in their lives and everyone comes in and rescues them. So they never actually get the opportunity to develop the skills, the tools, and the self-awareness in order to actually stop having that experience. So let's go ahead and give you some clarity on where you might be enabling instead of loving. Would that be okay?
Yes.
And I'm not specifically pointing you out, Michelle. This one feels really big for the group as well, just so
sure. Yeah.
but it's not a bad one to have. So let's go ahead and throw that in there for you. Let's show you how to recognize and quantify the value that you bring into all of your relationships without carrying other people's fears, thoughts, emotions, energies, overwhelm, etc. Would that be okay?
Yes.
And I'm feeling this for the group especially. It's like, yeah, but I'm such a great friend because it's like, you're a great friend, period. Period. And there's a difference between, you know, caring and carrying. And sometimes we think that if we carry, that makes us a better friend. But caring is what makes us a good friend. So let's clarify that for you. With your permission and everyone's permission, let's go ahead and upgrade and support you in developing healthy, loving, and self-caring boundaries for yourself. So then that way we can have, and I don't want to use the word shield or protect. That's a fear-based way of holding your energy. So
filter. Yeah.
So I prefer the term filter because it's not fear-based. It's just like, no, thank you. I'm good. I got enough of my own fears. Thanks. You know, like, don't need to join that party. So I prefer the perception or the approach of using a more appropriate filter because it's love-based. I'm saying no thank you to things because I love myself and I want to take care of myself, but not because I'm afraid of the darkness in the world. You know, we're going to defend myself from the evil. Like, that's a very... It's an approach. It's just not the one or the philosophy that I follow because I feel that it creates another layer of fear and disconnection. And that's not something we need right now. So with your permission, let's go ahead and give you appropriate discernment as well as creating, maintaining, and enforcing healthy, loving, and supportive boundaries for yourself energetically, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Would that be okay?
Yes.
A lot of yeses. Now, let's come together and let's give our good old planet a nice juicy healing. So I'm going to lead you through just a healing prayer so that we can, with our intention, request the energy of the universe, creator, God, source, whatever your personal belief structure is. I don't want you pulling energy from your personal battery pack, okay? What we're going to focus on is, with our intention, cultivating the energy that is abundant in the universe and directing it, if you will, inviting it to be sent to everyone in our world, everyone on the planet that may need it. So that's affected by this pandemic, people who are suffering, people who are scared, so that we as a community can come together and support each other without self-sacrifice. So let's go ahead, take a deep breath. Okay, and allowing that breath to anchor you, whatever your personal belief structure. What we're going to do is we're going to call out to that energy and we're going to say, I ask you, I command you, I implore you to send love and compassion to every soul on this planet, for them to use this energetic support as they choose, supporting and loving them to release fear, suffering, limitation. Taking a deep breath. And with your imagination, you can just, with your intention, observe the energy from the universe in whatever form it shows up for you, being into every spark of light that represents every soul on this planet. I did the same healing meditation with my daughter Ariel yesterday or the day before. She's 6. And when she observed this healing, I don't know how she saw Creator, because we use Creator in our household, but it was like Creator was like throwing out a whole bunch of Valentine's Day cards, and there were all these little hearts, and it was like raining heart cards on the world, and it was like in cartoon form. So as a teacher, I've been trained on how to observe someone else's observation of a healing. And she's actually has taken her level 1 theta healing, ironically enough. She's the youngest theta healer and Reiki practitioner in the world, I think. Well, maybe not, I mean, in my world. And so I thought it was so sweet to see how she witnessed sending healing to everyone on the planet. It was just so beautiful to me how natural it came to her. And it reminded me just how natural it comes to each and every one of us. It's just about getting out of our own way, if you will. So, Michelle, for fun, I want you to think about that original trigger that we talked about. So I want you to think about that and see what feelings or thoughts do you have around this old fear or this previous fear that maybe what my family told me was true and I'm wrong and I'm going to get punished and I've missed the reckoning or whatever it's called.
It's almost laughable, if that makes sense. It's like
well, and remember before when we talked about it, you had this yucky feeling, like consciously with your adult brain, you're like, that's silly. I know, I know what I know, but then the feelings didn't match that wisdom.
Yeah. Now I kind of want to laugh at it.
Go back to that 4-year-old self in the church and see how she feels.
It's like, what's wrong with mom?
Yeah, even she's like, okay, you guys, you need to chill out. Yeah. You guys get this all wrong. Yeah. So now, for fun, would it be okay for us to allow you, because what happened is we've changed your perception of an experience at a very young age. And chances are, for those of you who are listening, we've done the same for you as well. So would it be okay for us to allow you to reorganize, reinterpret, and review all of your past experience, but without this limiting perspective to shade or color your past? So let's go ahead and clean up, reorganize, resort, redata all of your neurology. So then that way, when you look at your past experiences, they can reflect this new wisdom for you. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you would like to reboot your past, go ahead and say yes now. And we're going to allow you to recreate your past experiences or reinterpret your life experiences with this new lens, without that old limitation. Take a deep breath. And I'm just going to witness that. I'm still seeing some of you guys, going through your reorganizing, recalibrating, reevaluating, reinterpreting. This is all really good. Now, with your permission, I'm going to go ahead and integrate all the changes that we've done today. So we're going to release all the old ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. And we're going to create space and allow for you to create new ways of thinking, feeling, behaving that are loving and supportive for you and aligned with your truest and most authentic values and morals. How does that sound?
Yay.
Good. So you guys can all say yes to this. I highly recommend you all say yes to this. So this is just kind of like putting a little bow on the package, so to speak. Let's release you from any and all old obligations to your past and allow you to move forward in new dynamics in your relationships, showing you who you are and what your life and how your life will unfold with these new positive changes in place. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Good. Take a breath, everybody. Yay! How is everybody doing? Let me hear. Chat with me on your box. Oh, thanks, Marlene. Marlene says, thank you, Annika Michelle, for the special healing. It was awesome. It was really good. I love having you guys on here. It's so fun for me to share with you.
Yeah, this is awesome.
You get some released tears happening, girl.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good for you. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And I'm looking forward to, oh, good. Kim said that was heavy.
Yeah.
Thanks. Good. Well, thanks so much, Kim, for sharing that, because it's true, right? We've got these huge backpacks of our past, and we just, in the moment when we're young or when we're younger or when maybe it was last week, we don't often know what to do with the situation. So we're like, all right, well, just got to keep going through my day. So we just, how our subconscious works is it's just, how do I get to the next moment? Right? So it does the best it can in that moment to keep moving forward, to keep growing, to keep whatevering, to keep surviving essentially. But what happens is that backpack keeps getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and we just carry it around and we get used to it. And I don't know if you're like me, I carry a big purse, and I don't often notice how much stuff accumulates in my purse until I actually take it off my shoulder. And I'm like, oh my God, that was heavy, right? So we forget, or we don't notice, we become accustomed or adapted to that weight. One of the things from my personal experience is when I think it was around 24, I'd have to do the math. I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I had chronic pain for 3 years. And what I noticed was I became very desensitized to the pain. So it wasn't until I remember I decided, I made a decision. I'm like, no, this is not going to be my life. And then I met new practitioners, I got new treatments. There was all this stuff that, just literally fell into my lap. Funny story, I'll tell you guys on another video. Anyways, there's a lot to it, but I'm giving you the quick and dirty today. So what I noticed was, I can't even remember where I was, but I went to see one of my practitioners because I had like a healing team. Because for me, healing is an orchestra. And so you need a certain amount of things for a certain amount of time, and then to really allow your inner physician to guide you as to what you need in order to get to the next level of healing, to the next level of health. And so I was seeing the practitioner, and they're like, oh, I think they asked me about my headaches. And I can't even remember now because it was so long ago. But what I do remember is they asked me about a pain that I had like every day, every waking hour for 3 years. And they're like, oh, and I'm pretty sure it was a headache. They're like, oh, how are your headaches? And I had to think about it. And I'm like, headaches? And they're like, yeah, like, how are your headaches? And I completely not even noticed that I wasn't having them anymore. Right? So sometimes what happens, and I'm sharing this with you now because I didn't notice how heavy my headaches were because I had them all the time. And then when I let them go, I actually forgot I had headaches all the time because it just automatically became part of my new reality. And it's like I had forgotten, if you will, where I'd come from because I had so strongly moved into my new reality of I'm done with pain. And so it just became my truth. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I used to have headaches like for 3 years. Like how could I forget that? But I'm sharing this because often when my clients come back, I'll be like, so how did blah, blah, blah turn out? And they're like, oh, I'm like, remember we talked about last time? And they'll forget. And you probably had this experience, Michelle, in some of the work we've done, right? And then I was like, oh, so how's that problem working out? They're like, what problem? And they're completely
get a research to like what?
I'm like, okay, well, don't look for it too hard. Like if it's not showing up anymore, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
But often what happens is when we do this kind of subconscious work, when we clear it, it becomes your new reality very effortlessly. So what I'm feeling for you guys, you're going to take about 2 days to integrate. So give yourself time. You might feel like a little hesitant in what you would have normally responded or reacted or chosen. You're kind of like noticing yourself thinking about it before you do it. That's you creating new neuron pathways and a new response to your whatever that experience is that's showing up based on all of the new beliefs that we've downloaded and instilled for you today. So if you have like a kind of feeling for the next couple of days, some people don't notice it. Some people it's like, yeah, it depends how much these particular programs had influence in your life. The more they had, the more you might just kind of notice a hesitation. And it's like a split second thing. So you're not going to be like, don't worry. Like, that's not what's going to happen here. You're just going to notice, oh yeah, I went to do that, but then I kind of hesitated and then I ended up doing this instead. Or I was going to say that and then I hesitated and I said this instead. And then it just becomes a normal, natural thing.
Yeah.
So that's my little 2 cents for you guys to give you an idea and a sense as to what to expect moving forward in the last couple of days. We have another, I've been so disconnected from Facebook. We do have another YOUnified Unburdened Living webcast happening this week. I think it's on Friday. I'm pretty sure it's on Friday at 11. I'm going to post it in a group and I'm going to share it in my newsletter as well, because I'm becoming less shy. And if you do unsubscribe, I will get over it. I've been not looking at them as much, but I do. I'm human. I'm still working on it, and I've surrendered to the fact that I'm going to be human until the day I die, and I will likely have things to heal. And so my perspective when it comes to this healing journey is to love as much as I can, to be as open as I can, to let go of as I can, but to really stop judging myself for my imperfections, for the things that I still don't know yet, releasing those judgments towards myself and rejecting those parts of myself that still have yet to heal. So if I can offer that to you, what I've surrendered to is you're going to be healing, growing, expanding, and evolving until the day you die. So maybe like don't rush through it, just kind of like have fun. Take that pressure up. I got to hurry up and heal myself so I can be perfect. Okay. Like, let me know how you make out. Like, if you find like the secret recipe, please, like, for God's sakes, let us know. This is what I've surrendered to is in every moment of your life, every breath offers you an opportunity for growth, for expansion, for learning. And that doesn't end. And my personal belief structure is that it doesn't end after our last breath here on the planet. This is just part of our soul's journey. And, I know there's a lot of things in the world that I don't understand, but what I do know for sure in my heart is that I feel like when I go back home, it'll all make sense then. Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep, trusting in myself, trusting in my inner wisdom, in my inner physician, and in my inner guide, because when I truly listen to them, not my fears, not my judgments, when I listen to my inner truth, it always leads me to exactly where I need to be, which was here today. So thank you so much for joining us. I know we went a little bit over, so thank you for your patience. I super appreciate it. And we'll see you guys again in all of the formats. I have some really cool stuff rolling out that I decided I was doing this week. So I can't wait to share it with you, but it's still like on the hush hush for now, because I don't know how much work it's going to be. So I don't know how long it's going to take me to do it, but I'm creating something fun and I can't wait to share it with you guys. Thank you so much, Michelle, for being our volunteer and our guinea pig, if you will. And
thank you.
So that everyone else can benefit from your healing. If you would like to be, now, Michelle, did you feel like you had to tell everybody all your deep, dark demons and secrets? And was this difficult for you to do in a group format?
No.
And so I want to share that with people, because people are like, oh, I want to do a healing, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to talk about stuff that I don't want to talk about in front of other people.
And no, that's no
What's
fear.
really fun about this type of healing or inner work healing is you can say, oh, I have some judgments from my past. You know what they are. And as soon as you identify them, I can tap into it and pull that for you. So I don't need to know, your story. And the healing happens between you and your higher power and the universal energy. So my role is just to help you identify and then create and offer you an alternative information packet, an internal energy, an internal feeling to replace that with. So if you are feeling inspired to get your healing on, I am taking applications for future shows. And those have been filling up really fast. So if you're like, hey, pick me, well, shoot me a message in Dream Life Mastermind, email me at nick@masteringascension.com. Don't text me because I'm bad with that. So so email me or tag me in the group, or a snail mail, pigeon carrier, that sort of thing. Okay. All right. Thanks again, you guys, and we'll see you in the group, by email, or any other network connections that we have. Ta-da!